welcome to the... That's a horrible start. My bad. Anyways, look, this is your host with the most, Marcos. I'm here in the building, somewhere in downtown. It is cloudy, rainy, kind of gray. Looks like UK, somewhere in London. But I have a guest. He's in the beautiful country of Bulgaria, in the mystical city of Sofia. I'm pretty sure it's sunshine, rainbows, and flying horses, unicorns, and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure it is. Who knows? Oh, it could be an NFT flying off. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But the point is, I got a special friend, and we've known each other for a long time. And, I've been thinking about, entrepreneurship on the blockchain. And I'm trying to think of somebody. Who could I talk to? Whose time I could waste? The only... So I got this guy. His name is Nikola. I'll try not to say your last name, but I'll leave it up to you. So, Nikola, welcome to the XTcast, the official podcast of XT.com. How's it going?
Thank you very much for having me, Marcos. Pretty good, actually. But you know what? Why don't you go ahead and actually try to say my last name so that we can get over that bridge and continue?
Jesus, wow, you're a bad friend, man. Anyways, okay. It is Nikola Stojanow.
It's okay. Perfect. We can keep it like that.
All right. No, but what is the actual pronunciation, though?
Well, there are different ones. I mean, in English, it probably would be something close to Stojanow. And I think in German and like European countries, it would be Stoyanov. And in Bulgaria, it's Stoyanov.
Stoyanov or Stoyanov. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Cool. Interesting. Cool. But anyways, see, before we get into talking about entrepreneurship and, your thought leadership in the space, I want the audience to kind of know a little bit about yourself, who you are, where did you come from, and why the heck did you get into this crazy world of blockchain? Why?
It's quite an interesting story that I'll try to condense it actually as much as possible. So I'm pretty classic when it comes to upbringing. So raised in Germany, went to university in Germany, in the UK. Studied law and then business because I realized I don't want to be a lawyer very early on, very, very early on, because it looked cool on TV. But, once you get to the real life, it's unfortunately nothing like it. Everybody's trying to get pre-trial, finalizing everything. It was like, where's the action? This is just, like balls in papers. Definitely don't want to do that because I'm missing human contact. Then I started my beginning professionally actually is in the pharmaceutical industry. So I started off in Serbia and I was managing and monitoring 5 countries there: Bosnia, Albania, Croatia, I think Serbia and Romania. And after some time, I got the opportunity to go to Asia and to be headquartered and based in Hong Kong. Out of there, I got probably incredibly lucky with a little bit of, actual hustle.
All right.
No, actually, it was 99% hustle and 1% like as usual. But
the
cool thing was that I got into a very, very cool position. So I was in charge of the entire business development, new market entry, etc., PP for MENA, Asia, and the Pacific region. And I was, I think, 27 years old. So now imagine the super young kid that I was back then. Full of enthusiasm, full of ideas, full of drive, and then you get hit with this corporate kind of reality check where when you do have an idea, you jump into it, you want to move it fast, but then they're like, hey, wait, next month on the 18th, we have a meeting where we discuss new business ideas. And then 2-3 months after that, we have the next meeting where we decide if we're going to form a group which is going to start looking into it, etc. pp. And until somebody somehow gets to the moment where you can take a decision and move forward, innovation pretty much dies. And I was confronted a couple of times with this, and because I've been quite entrepreneurial my entire life. As a kid, I was selling seashells and unique stones on the sidewalk, like kid stuff, like newspapers.
You were selling seashells?
Yeah. I was
who the heck buys seashells? I mean,
did you remember the Jordan Belfort Sell Me That Pen part? I mean, that one is more about figuring out what the customer wants, but I turned that around. I went to the seaside. I collected tons of seashells, and then I came back into the city, and people are like, "Oh, cool, seashells." Yeah, so it kind of worked actually. It's just
Wow.
hacking the system. But that was really early childhood. But
Yeah. That's
now being confronted with reality when it comes to this corporate kind of slow development, at some point of time, I couldn't continue doing this. And then I left that job and I went back to Europe to regroup actually. So I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was too young to be able to continue in the same position because, in
yeah.
corporate, you need to be, I don't know, 45 years old with 12 years of experience,
Oh
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah, whatever. Nobody really cares what you can do. It's about like, do you fit into the stigma? Clearly I
Right.
didn't because I
Okay.
was 15 years younger than everybody else. So I, at some
Wow.
point of time, just decided to go ahead and plunge into entrepreneurship. I went to Berlin. Where else? I through a good friend of mine, Carla Kilby. We studied together in Mannheim a long time ago, and she was like, "I know this really cool guy. He's doing a med health tech startup when it comes to a marketplace that combines caregivers with caretakers. That's kind of down your line, isn't it?" And I was like, "Sure, let's try that stuff." So we really successfully actually scaled the startup, and I think it's doing quite well until today. But during that time, I was in Berlin. I was like in the entire Berlin vibe. Like you drink mate, you party in really weird places, listen to really strange music, meeting super interesting people, working.
Yeah.
It was interesting, right? But at that time, I
Yeah.
met a good friend of mine that our parents know each other since I think school years or something. And he was like me, born in Bulgaria, but at a very early stage or very early years moved to Germany. So pretty much the same story like me. And he was in Berlin for years. And whilst I was traveling with the pharmaceutical company, when I was in Belgium and Serbia, he would come and crash at my couch for a couple of days and then fly off to Thailand. When I was living in Hong Kong, he would come to Hong Kong because there was something going on. I was like, "What are you doing? I mean, Christ's sake, this is expensive stuff, man." So
Yeah.
it looks like
Yeah.
you're just hanging out on islands, and enjoying life. What am I doing wrong with my life? And he was like,
Right.
"That's 2014, I think, in Serbia." So I'm just going back a little bit so it all fits together.
Sure.
When he
Yeah.
came to Serbia, because electricity was super cheap
Yeah.
in Serbia, and that was before the first, or not the first, but before like this major drop in Bitcoin when it went up to 600 and then it pretty much fell to back to 300 or
Yeah.
something like this. And we wanted to set up a mining facility because we had access to industrial electricity. But then exactly at that moment, the crash came, and because I was not ready, neither with the philosophy nor with the entire setup, I didn't get it back then. And then years later, he came to me in Hong Kong. That's 2015, and he's writing some colored coins. I think it was called Coin Awesome or something like this. So we did a little bit of stuff together on that, and I was starting to get quite intrigued. He was the first person that actually gave me my first Bitcoin, which I'll never forget. And
Wow.
so years later, when I'm in Berlin and I'm an entrepreneur myself, we meet up and he's like, "I have this really crazy idea, but in order to explain it to you, you finally need to understand Bitcoin." And I'm like, "Okay, let's have some beers and let's get this going." So we went through the entire process, got way more drunk than we should have. So I forgot like 90% of it, if I have to be honest with you. But like something stuck. And something changed
Right.
because back then he had this idea to build an infrastructure that would pretty much be able to overtake Ethereum when it comes to scalability. It would incorporate oracles into the layer one and a couple of different very interesting things like state channels and other aspects into the layer one, so they wouldn't have to be built on top of that. So it'd be directly implemented into the smart
Gotcha.
contract. And I was like, "Smart contract? Well, I remember we talked about, but not really." And so I called him the next day again, and I'm like, "Man, sounds really interesting, but I didn't get the majority of it, honestly." So we got together again, and he took
Okay.
a couple of hours, explained to me everything. And then, there was a lot of people that say there was this moment where it made like this, like this click.
Yeah.
And where you start to see what kind of impact the technology can actually have on our everyday life, on financial transactions, on interaction between human beings, on infrastructure, on everything.
Yeah. Right.
So I started digging for a couple of days really deep. I read the white paper that Satoshi wrote. I went ahead, dove deeper and deeper, and then I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. So I went to my co-founders in the medtech startup, and I was like, guys, I love you to death, but keep equity, keep everything. I'm out because I found this thing that I genuinely believe is going to change not only my life but the life of a lot of other people. So and the next day I met this guy, and I met my friend. His name is Yanni Malachov, by the way. And I was like, dude, let's do this. And then we kicked off Eternity back in the days. I think we did quite well with that thing. We scaled it quite nicely. In the meantime, we built a very robust infrastructure. We traveled the world, started doing, I think, still the first incubation acceleration program back in the days when it came to very focused infrastructure, which was called Starfleet. And then, Outlier, et cetera, PP started popping up. And they did quite well and continued that trend. And as a result, I realized that if you invest into a startup, a small amount of money in the Web3 space, and exactly the bear market follows after your investment, and people lose quite a lot of their investment, because back then it was crypto and everything, then this is not sustainable. So you need to follow up. And then we slowly and periodically transitioned into the idea with my partners, Luka Sucic and Luka Tsiganek, to build a fund which later at some point of time would be able to support early stage startups up to Series A in the Web3 space. And I think that's how we kind of very quickly came to where we are right now.
Wow. Hey, first of all, hey, thank you for sharing that your origin story. And it's kind of cool that, you shared your experience, like the first time you got Bitcoin from somebody, right? Like, I think that was pretty cool. And I love the point, like in my personal podcast and also here in the XDcast, my goal for the audience is to understand and visualize how crypto and blockchain based solutions is going to revolutionize the internet, information, money. And you saw that like way early, so, hey, good on you to, to take that leap of faith, because not many people would do that, like you had a good thing going on in the medical tech space or pharmaceutical space. And, so, but I was kind of curious to ask you because, as an entrepreneur, sometimes like you got to make, life-changing decisions, tough decisions, so could you share that moment where, you told your folks at the medtech, business, like what was their reaction? And, when you talk about crypto and blockchain and, hey, you're going to get into this, like what was that feeling?
I mean, the cool thing was that they're devs,
moment.
like they're product and developers. So it was, they knew about it. So it was quite interesting. And the time had come to part ways anyways, because it's about, like one thing is about building an infrastructure when it comes to a startup, so you scale it from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And then there's the next step where obviously in the best case scenario, you scale it from 1 to 100 or to 1,000 or to 100,000 to 1,000,000, whatever. And that time had come. So it was perfect timing.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Because in my mind, I'm thinking
I lost you there again. Let me see if I can turn off Wi-Fi.
Oh, no. Oh, I can. Yeah, I think it's coming from your side. Let's see. As we say. Oh, we are back in the building. All right. While I wait for Nikola, here at the XDcast, your official podcast of xt.com. Oh, wait a minute. Admitting Nikola, and I believe Nikola is back in the building again. Oh, I guess
Man,
the
it's
virtual
definitely
online studio building. But anyway,
my internet is doing just great.
No. My internet. Hey, look, my Dubai internet is way superior to your Bulgarian internet. So. Anyways, you can hear me now. All right, let's try because I could see my bars.
Let's see, they're uploading something.
Let me see.
The host are recording.
Because I can hear you. You are you able to hear me?
Nah, Marcos, can you also try to go onto, I don't know, like 4G or 5G or something like this? Because I cannot hear you. It's breaking up.
Okay, well let's all right,
No,
let me
now
use
I can hear you
my
perfectly. I don't see you, but I can hear you.
all right, okay. No, okay. No, don't worry about it. I guess if you can hear me,
It's
that's
all
fine.
good.
So no
It's
worries.
incredible that in the
But anyway,
21st century we still have issues with video and voice over IP, but you know, it's amazing.
hey, yeah, but hey, the
So
show
let's
must
go
go
on.
on. We'll figure it out though. But yeah, okay. So anyway, so it's great that your colleagues, they understood your mission and what you're up to. So it's interesting. You talked about Eternity blockchain. So could you kind of share a little bit about Eternity blockchain and like how did it, what was the inspiration behind
Well, the
it?
inspiration was that Yanni was pretty close with Vitalik and the others when they built Ethereum. So I think that there's still Skype chats where they're talking about updatable algorithms, which pretty much became the base for smart contracts as we know them today. But Yanni wanted to build something better, and whatever has happened in the meantime, he still is, in my opinion, a visionary that sees things that are going to happen in the future, which I found incredible. Like for me, I enable pretty
Yeah,
much. But he was a person that had like this grand idea. And Eternity, as I had mentioned to you earlier,
yeah,
had a couple of very specific things that made it really interesting. But the issue with every infrastructure in general always is that you need to make a decision, and you need to make a couple of very important decisions. As for every startup, like what kind of
okay,
what kind of
yeah,
language are you going to actually use to build your product? It's very important. Is it going to be something which is technologically
okay,
incredibly advanced and robust and incredible, but there's not a lot of people that can do it, so you need to educate more people? Is it going to be something which everybody uses, so
yeah,
that also means that there are a lot of loopholes or a lot of attack vectors in it? Is it going to be something in between? Then you need to figure
yeah,
that those are very important things. Then obviously, what is your product going to look like? What is the baseline going to be? What are going to be the first kind of implementation or the first forks are actually going to be when it comes to the implementation of the product? What are the features going to be of that? Who's going to build this? Those are very, very, very critical things,
yeah,
especially in the starting point, because that's 2000. Oh, I think 2016, 2017. So you had Ethereum and Bitcoin, obviously.
gotcha.
So there was not really anything else. So Charles hadn't started with Cardano yet. Like Tezos was also still not.
Yeah,
Like all the Near didn't exist. Polygon didn't. Nothing of this existed yet.
yeah, 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 none, yeah,
Really basic infrastructure.
right.
And then how do you do this? Where do you go? Do you focus on the technology or do you focus on your community? Is it better to have in your Telegram, I don't
Mm.
know, 100,000 bots so you can show to people, hey, look, like I have 100,000 people in my Telegram group? Or is it better to have, I don't know,
Yeah,
100, 200 people that are highly engaged, that you can actually turn into team members, that you can turn into
mm.
ambassadors, all those things, like what are you looking for?
Yeah,
And looking back, what it was and seeing how things are right now, I think it's incredibly scary how fluff has become something so almost vital and important to a project success. Who are your advisors? What does that mean? Who are your
yeah,
advisors? What have those people done? Did they give their picture to it? Did they actually help you advise? Did they work with you? Did they
mm.
connect you? Did they enable you? Or was it just a picture on a website? So you can, like, hey, look, this guy's our advisor. There's so many important things on so many levels, especially on a project of that magnitude, that it was incredible how well received it was for its time, because it was really complex. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, first of all, no, thank you for saying that because, when you talked about like how fluff has become prominent, even now, like it's interesting to see, like, when you talk about who are the people behind it, advisors and all that stuff. It kind of it did kind of resonate with me because I think I've checked out so many different projects. A lot of them want to get listed and all that jazz. But it's I think those are some really good points. Sometimes like. I think a lot of people like lose their way. They're trying to make themselves look good and stuff, but they don't. They work on. I think is it because there's an educational gap or something, or maybe there's not much good role models in the blockchain crypto space where like say like a new entrepreneur comes in and be like, you know what, I'm not going to go for the short term stuff. Let's work on something good. Like let's build a community from scratch. Like, what are your
I
thoughts on
think it
that?
depends
Like,
how willing you are to actually go down and understand the technological aspect versus the commercial aspect. So if you say that there are not a lot of role models, I
yeah.
genuinely do not agree with you. I mean, in Dubai, for example, or
Okay.
Abu Dhabi, we have His Excellency Gabriel Abed, who is one of the very, very early people that I was fortunate enough to meet really early on, and that has been super
Yeah.
guiding kind of
Yeah.
whatever you want to like a beacon. There are amazing
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Just for
Yeah.
example, in the US, you have Daniel Held, super early Bitcoin adopter. You have Anthony Delorio,
Sure. Sure.
Vitalik,
Yeah.
obviously. In China, when it comes to CZ now, that started off with Binance back there. Vincent Zhu from FBG. There are really, really big people that have been beacons in this space.
Right.
But the question is, do you get
Yeah.
access to them? Because there's so many projects out there, and this goes back to this fluff.
Ah.
What do you talk
Yeah.
to them to, obviously? And also, do you really want to do this, or do you want to take another road where you go down and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't know, let's use NFTs. Like, you're just going to do the latest collection of, I don't know, snails that have different features for a very,
Okay.
very unique club, which is called Snail World. Just an example. You just rinse and repeat
Okay.
what people
Sure.
have
Sure.
done
Yeah.
for
Let's use
like
that. Yeah.
hours, for like the last couple of months, which is not really innovative. So for me,
Yeah.
personally, I'm speaking personally when it comes to my experience and my opinions.
No. Sure.
I don't like to ride the same wave when it comes to products that everybody else is riding. Like, I'm more curious what's going to be the next thing that's going to come.
Okay.
One example that I very much enjoy
Okay.
is when DeFi popped up and everybody started talking about interoperability between infrastructures. You put a plaster on it, you called it a bridge.
Yeah.
People had no idea what was happening. Like auditing a bridge it's like you look at it and you're like,
Yeah.
let's make 3 crosses and hope it works. And then those things are getting drained. But like
Yeah.
the complexity of a bridge between 2 infrastructure protocols is huge. It is, for me,
Yeah.
it's impossible to understand how quickly it was just like, yeah, like, here's a bridge, congratulations. And that's not a long-term solution.
Yeah.
I remember back in the days, there was an infrastructure project, like there was an interoperability project in Canada, which was really cool, but somehow it didn't work out. And then you found a quick fix for it, but the problems maintained the same. So what's going to be the next thing? Like what is going to be after DeFi? How is DeFi going to evolve in the next stage? Because clearly we saw through things like Terra and so on that like those high yielding projects on a long term basis are not sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the basic problems
Yeah.
that, especially in Dubai. When you go to a crypto conference in Dubai, there's more bling than in a jewelry store. The Lambo in front of it, and this. It was really cool back in 2016 or 17 when this happened in Miami. Because.
Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine bought
like in
his
South Beach, right?
Lambo back in the days with Bitcoin. So that was really cool. When he drove it down there, like, it kind of made sense because, hey, look, I actually bought a Lambo with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But, like this marketing material, please look at me, I'm driving a Lambo. I don't think this is the right message you want to send A, to your investors, B, to your community, and C, to then also the outside world when it comes to the people that are going to utilize your product.
Yeah, that is interesting that you brought that up. I think, do you see there is maybe eventually like a cultural shift, or like people will still get caught up with with the Lambos and the hype and stuff?
I think it will remain because it's flashy. But we were at a conference in Paris a couple of years ago, and Vitalik came dressed as a unicorn, like unicorn colored or like rainbow colored leggings, like a t-shirt, and he was carrying like this fluffy unicorn.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, for you that works.
Yeah.
I get that, But like this started popping up left and right. This
Yeah.
luxury watches, this was the flashy cars, the bling, the rings and everything. But I personally, I'm incredibly understated when it comes to things like this. The people that I do business with or my peers are also very understated when it comes to those things. And I'm very thankful for that because when I look into building a product, I genuinely tend to see how can it evolve over a longer period of time rather than what are we going to do in the next 3 months when we raise, I don't know, like $1 million or something from a project, and then we're like, and it's gone. So you understand what I mean? Like this short bursts of collecting money and just investing it into flash stuff rather than building stuff doesn't make sense for me. But it will stay. I just imagine that more people from the classical business world, or in general from the non-Web3 space, will venture into the Web3 space, and then there's going to be a normalization of those things. But you still have it.
Okay. No, I can see that. Yeah, and I'm definitely saying that. I do agree with what you're saying. Oh no, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, I think there was a delay. Hold up. This is interesting. Okay.
You're breaking up. Let it reload.
Nikola, can you hear me? All right. All right. Hold up. Okay. All right. So I just want to test this thing again. Can you hear me?
No, still horrible.
Can you hear me and see me? I don't know, because apparently the internet seems to be slow from your side.
Nope.
Not sure why. No? You can't change devices while recording. Blah,
you're
blah,
breaking up. It's like a robot electronic voice.
Oh, really? Okay. This is. I'll tell you what, let's.
Now you're back. Now you're back.
Let me just.
Delays. Yeah.
I'm back. Okay.
So just to finalize, I'm absolutely cool that everybody expresses themselves however they wish to do so. Absolutely. Like, I don't judge anybody for what they look like or whatever. Absolutely no reason to. But what I don't like is let's call it unnecessary, in my opinion, expenditure when it comes to those things. Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. That definitely makes sense. I think there are a lot of people who will totally, agree with your sentiment. Coming from an investor side or coming from a user community, I think that makes sense. But I want to go kind of take some steps back a little bit. You talked about DeFi, so I'm really interested to ask you. Now, you talked about what's going to come after DeFi. So let's talk about, what future trends that you see that's going to take place in crypto and blockchain. What are you excited about? Could it be NFTs? Could it be metaverse? Or there something else you believe is truly going to add value
Okay.
and take crypto and blockchain to a whole
Let's
another
go
level.
one by one, the ones that you mentioned. When it comes to the metaverse, I
Okay.
I have a lot of doubts when it comes to the metaverse. I'm not talking about the opportunity or the ability to implement it, because I think that nobody can argue that it's not going to happen. What bothers me, or what gives me discomfort, is what kind of impact is this going to have on our daily lives? Because when you look at it on the way that there is a conference in New York tomorrow morning and you're invited into it as a speaker there, and I put on my Oculus or whatever is going to be running by then, and I'm part of this event, and I'm there and I'm interacting and I'm presenting and I'm meeting people in the metaverse. That is pretty cool, actually, because it saves you time, it's efficient, and it's the next step. So you don't have to spend so much time traveling anymore, because you put on your goggles, boom, you're in there, works. When it comes to meetings, when it comes to, standard professional stuff. But when you look at time, or the prediction, time spent in the metaverse versus time spent offline, how is this going to correlate? Are people going to get lost more in the metaverse? Are they going to forget about their daily lives? What kind of impact is this going to have on children? Are they going to think that they can jump 3 meters high like they do in the metaverse and do something stupid? Those are very, very dangerous things that I don't know yet how they're going to be regulated.
Gotcha.
So I'm enjoying my excitement with very, very cautiously when it comes to the metaverse, because I think it's a beautiful thing, but I also think it's a scary thing. And we need to be careful with this, and there needs to be some kind of collaboration when it comes to regulators, when it comes to like the human interaction with the metaverse. Because if those are psychologists, if those are, like all those things that run into, how is this going to impact our daily lives? If you look at mobbing, all those things, like all those in the cyber and in the metaverse, is not going to, how is this going to play out? I don't have the answer yet, but we will figure this out very soon.
Gotcha.
NFTs. My partner Lucas Tsiganek would probably be able to tell you way more about this, because he just went like into the rabbit hole like no one else that I've seen. For me, I want to see more, represent an NFT that represents a real world asset more. This is obviously we see Nike, Adidas, like Gucci, all of those people starting to utilize this. But this is also going to implement, like when it comes to your supply chain, like are those goods really manufactured there? How is this going to go against unfair or child labor? All those things, So this is really exciting, actually. Quality control, quality assurance. Those things are going to be revolutionized, in my opinion, through NFTs. The other week, I sat down with a friend of mine that I had seen for a very long time, and he was telling me how he has figured out a way how an NFT can represent a fractional ownership to a level of, I don't know, a brick in a building. So construction, for example, you'll be able to own small parts, or potentially you would be able to own smart parts in the process, from design through building through then living of a house or a commercial building or whatever. So, like income and so on and so on. And then we go into the DeFi space, where obviously this then comes back, because you're going to stake your NFT or your tokens or whatever it is that represent your ownership, and then you're going to get a dividend from this, or another increase of value. I do see more and more people to try to work together with traditional banking to allow people to use blockchain or crypto in general to get higher yields when it comes to their saving accounts. Because when I look around, what is it, 0.1 or 0.01? Like it costs more to have a bank account than it actually earns you. So that kind of doesn't make sense, does it? So I see a lot of things into the, let's say, retail kind of banking going then. And for the hardcore stuff, I'm seeing more and more things right now that are just mind-blowing that I'm not ready to share yet, but I will as soon as the time comes.
All right, okay. Man, Nico got secrets, man. What's going on, man?
this is the VC part now. I very much enjoy founders that do have crazy ideas, but that also understand how to
Yeah.
realize that idea. Like what is this effort gonna take? How much is it gonna cost?
Mm,
Who am I gonna
okay.
need as a talent to build
Yeah.
this thing? And then obviously then to realize it. So that is really, really cool.
Right.
That's happening. I hope this answers your question.
Oh yeah. No, no, that's great. No, I think what makes me happy is like just the joy that you shared. Like you're working on some exciting stuff, and I love the point where you talked about like projects trying to want to bring that idea on the blueprint and bring it into reality, and what does it take. And I like that thought process you shared, where an entrepreneur is like, okay, I want to make this thing happen. What talented people do I need? What resources I need? So I know it's kind of funny because normally folks who I meet have, I mean, they kind of have a vague idea, but it's not really structured. So I love that thought process that you shared. So um, and I think the next question I would really like to ask is, because a lot of new people are excited about crypto and blockchain, and how they're going to use blockchain maybe for a travel agency, or some other application, maybe for using blockchain for an insurance platform or something like that. So, um, as someone who's in the VC space or whatever, like, what advice in your top on the top of your head, like, what are, I guess, what tips or advice would you give for someone to really think about, before starting a project, or, getting it on a runway kind of deal, like, you feel is important to share? I know there's so many
For
stuff, but
me,
which other stuff you think is important
especially
in
in the
your,
Web3 space, one of the most important things is, and I know that a lot of people have said this, but apparently people still don't understand is, do you really need blockchain for your project? Is it vital for it? Does it make sense to have an own coin? Because,
yeah,
or is it a product that you're creating which will be enabled and made 10 times better by the use of blockchain technology? This is super important because if you just do another copy of
hmm,
something existing,
yeah,
that's not what I'm looking for. I want to see, I want to understand how your product actually
yeah,
impacts everyday life. Does it make sense to build? Like, is there a market for it?
yeah,
Obviously. Do you really need this technology, or
mm,
are you just sprinkling it on top of it, like people sprinkle AI on top of it, even though it's manually done in the back, or they use metaverse right now, or they use machine learning, like all those
yeah,
buzzwords, green tech, whatever you can think of. Is it really
yeah,
necessary, or are you just,
yeah,
like making it fluffy? So it looks
hmm,
nicer and it shines and it's more from the
yeah,
outside. But your experience obviously is a very
yeah,
important aspect to it, and um, it you need to know what you're building and why you're building it, and you need, at least in my, like, I like
okay,
groups of founders personally because I like when people, at least two of them,
okay,
three or something. It shouldn't be 15 of them, but like two, three, so that
yeah,
there's different skill sets because especially in the beginning,
yeah,
like in the early stage of a project, different people will have to do different tasks. There's no way around it. Like if you don't know something, you will have to learn, you will have to
yeah,
adapt, and you will have to implement because the other two people, if we take three as an example, will be busy doing something else. And, like this is a continuous cycle that until, like some capital comes in, your first customers come in, all those basic things, so you get a little bit of a buffer when it comes to your financing so you can hire people.
hmm,
You need to be a jack of all trades. And, if it's one
yeah,
person, this becomes incredibly heavy on that person. If
okay,
that person has a family or whatever kind of other aspects
yeah,
in life that are unforeseeable, it's a very, very heavy burden to carry. So if
hmm,
it's two or three people, four, this burden is a little bit easier. So for me, I like this. Very important to always figure
mm,
out
okay,
how you're going to spread the equity stakes or the stakes in general. So don't wait until the money is raised to decide who
Okay.
gets what, because that always turns into not a good discussion. So before that, split it up. For me, this is something that I've learned the hard way, and I can only give this experience further to everybody else. Have that hard discussion. It is hard, but once you get it out, it's out. And then people can
Yeah.
discuss it, and then you can find a way. And, if it doesn't fit, then
Yeah.
maybe this is not the project for you, or you thought that you're doing more that you did, or people thought that you're doing less that you actually did. So it's a very, very tough but important conversation, and people should never be afraid to have that conversation, because at the end of the day, this is what your value pretty much displays at a later stage in the project. So take care of that in the beginning.
Interesting. All right. Hey, no, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you about, now we're in this bear market season. So, I guess it depends. But I personally think, obviously, we're in the bear market season. So, so right now there are a lot of projects, and they're trying to raise capital, I guess. So, I think right now it's the smart money. They're looking for great projects. So I think what I learned over here in Dubai, seeing all these little meetups and different, pitch events kind of deal. I personally realized, obviously you have to be the head of sales or the spokesperson for your project, So I think it might be a dumb question to you, but do founders or the project leaders, does communication skills really matter to investors, or how can they, or how would you suggest them to be better speakers or better communicators of their ideas?
There are a couple of facets
or
to
their
answer this
project?
question. First of all, let's start with the bear market. I love bear markets because for me, it really shows who has either planned or who's ready to bite through it. And this tells us a lot about a project, about a team, about a product, and about the realization of that product. So a bear market, and I've seen this personally, I've witnessed this personally, I've experienced it, and I've seen it when we did the incubation acceleration program, because that's when 2000, when we wrote the first checks, we saw how a project got the amount of money, and then 2-3 years later, that money was worth 40% less or something like this, or that Bitcoin, for example. So, and they still succeeded. I mean, for me, it's one of the projects called AmpNet, one of the first investments that we did. Those guys were killers, they went through it, they found a way, and they went built through the bear market, and then they came on top of it in the bull, and they did amazing things. So I genuinely respect that, because now what you will see is in a bear market, the beauty of a bear market, it cleans out house. It does. And, if you say, oh, this is so bad because so much value, that translates into the next question that you're saying. Everybody wants to invest into good projects. So it is not smart money, dumb money, any kind of money. Money wants to make more money, or the person that invests. That's why you're investing at the end of the day, right? So figuring out, getting access to the early stage deals has turned out to become like one of the hardest things right now, because of the magnitude in the bull market. This has turned into a very complicated matter. But if you position yourself very well, like Almeida, for example, Spart, or FTA or A16, whatever big names that you think of, then you now can, in the bear market, still source incredible deals. And then whatever is left for the others, everybody's fighting over the rest. So it's super competitive, actually. It's really, really competitive. And if you do not have an edge, then everybody needs to find their own edge. If you do not have an edge, you always get secondary, third tier kind of deals that might be good, but like the percentage when it comes to the potential of them actually exponentially increasing in value or building amazing is smaller. So bear market cleans this up, and now the nice projects that are building through that you bet on at the end of the bull market now building, and those are the ones that you hold in longer until the next bull market. In Dubai is a special place. I came to Dubai years ago thinking that, because I'm quite communicative, it's going to be easy. But I very much
Hmm.
learned that this is not the case. I got to the wrong people. I paid tons of money for things that never happened. And I very, very much learned the hard way that in Dubai, the important people are covered by one, two, three people before them until you can get to them first. And there's a reason for that because everybody thinks you go to Dubai, everything happens
Interesting.
immediately. You meet a sheikh, you meet a family office, they write you $100 million check, and
Yeah.
you're moving the next day to Dubai, and everything's great, you know, it's like in a movie. But the harsh reality is that this is not the case.
Yeah.
So I think that Dubai is a place, an amazing place when it comes to opportunity. I love how progressive the government is, and I'm fortunate enough
Hmm.
to have had the opportunity to speak to the government and the decision makers, and it's been really cool because they listen. You know, like there's the conversation is really, really
Nice.
different
Yeah.
because they are interested in creating a global hub
Hmm.
in Dubai where talent can come together to build amazing stuff. That's as simple of a statement as it has been, and now they're
Yeah.
realizing it. Now, when it comes to building your own entire team in Dubai, I think it's incredibly tough because of the price point of Dubai. Dubai got more expensive because of multiple factors that we don't need to go
Right.
into detail
Mm.
right now. But Dubai is not the cheapest place to live in. It's beautiful, like you can do
Sure.
whatever
Hmm.
you want in Dubai when it comes to your monetary
Yeah.
opportunity. But having a 60 people, 100 people, a 200 people
Yeah.
team in Dubai is really expensive. So my experience here is the following.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it is good when you have a technical person and a communicative person to be able to get to the right people because it
Hmm.
usually the communicative person cannot explain in detail the technical aspects as good as a technical person, but the communicative person is the door opener when it comes to those opportunities. But I mean, the tech person can explain tech. That's why they're tech people,
Yeah.
which is great. But in a longer term
Yeah.
lookout, if the project does incredibly well, I've seen CTOs and technical founders move to Dubai because they like it. But I have seen mostly the salesperson or the CEO of companies be in Dubai when it comes to this. And then the tech teams or the other teams are outsourced into different regions in the world. If this is Europe, if this is India, if this is the US, Africa, Asia, whatever you can
Yeah.
think of. So it's small chunks of the team, but the
Hmm.
for whatever goal they have, necessary parts of the team that are there to focus to go get it done, and then to probably have a representative role when it comes to Dubai.
All right. No, that's cool. No, thank you for that insight. I like that you brought up, like the two kinds of people. The one who's the communication person, the other one is the technical person. So they're definitely both sides are valuable, but also there is
Yes.
there's the timeline, the short timeline, long timeline, with regards to these two skill sets. So, but also thank you for sharing your experience here in Dubai. So I love that you keep it real, keep it honest and stuff. I think that's something really important, because sometimes some people have really high expectations, but then obviously
I'm
reality
pretty
hits
direct
hard.
when it comes to those
So
things.
um,
Like
I
if
think it's
somebody
important to
listens to
have that
this and they
honesty.
do not make the mistakes that I have made or that
You know,
numerous people have made alongside me or before me or after me, I think this is great. But
hmm.
entrepreneurship is not easy. Venture capital is not, nothing is
Yeah,
easy. Like easy money in itself is something which is far away from reality. People can get lucky, yes, but in general, it is an incredible grind. And
yeah,
to establish yourself, you are in Dubai, you know this, you're experiencing this yourself. To
yeah,
establish yourself in such a region is
yeah,
tough. It's hard. It comes with a high price. It comes with a lot of expectations. But if you succeed in doing so, I think the reward is amazing. And again, for me, I love Dubai. I love the UAE in general
mm,
because for me, it's a good place to do business
yeah,
once you have
yeah,
established yourself. Like once you know the people that you want to do business with, and then it's an incredible hub when it comes to Asia
yeah,
and Europe because of the time it's right in the middle. With the US, it's a little bit more complicated, but like this perfect balance between Asia and Europe is amazing.
yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, that is true. You know what?
I know.
Nicola, I don't know if you know about me, but like I was born and brought up in Dubai. Then I moved to the States. So but honestly, I never expected Dubai to be sort of this upcoming potential blockchain capital for the world kind of deal. Where a lot of people from different countries are coming to Dubai so they can be treated best and uh, work on some pretty interesting projects. I never expected that to happen. There was a time like I actually wanted to like leave Dubai, go to some other place, but never expected like a lot of companies and talent and
Honestly, I
guys
was
like you
back
coming to
in the
Dubai.
days
I didn't expect that.
professionally working
So
there, but I also never expected that I would spend so much time in Dubai and that so many other people from like this Web3 space would also come. And I remember a really cool anecdote. Was a really good friend of mine and mentor, Ralph Globishnik from Crypto Oasis. So we were sitting with Ralph together, and he did the
yeah.
whole thing in
Hmm.
Switzerland, and it was going great. And what was next? And Ralph was like, "Man, it's gonna be Dubai.
Yeah.
So let's go." And he went and he did absolutely insane things. Man. Just like my jaw just dropped. And I was like, "How did you see that coming?" It's like, dude, it's not the first time it made sense. Dubai was ripe, the people were progressive enough to you realize the opportunity. They went for it, and he was like he was just perfect. I was just sitting there like, how? What happened? Why is this happening? And super impressive stuff. So I'm
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have to give him. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people give him a lot of credit for
honestly they
seeing
should,
like
because for me
like
Ralph is one of
far
the most
ahead.
important people, not only when it comes to the ecosystem in the UAE, but in general when it comes to global part of blockchain in general. They're really, really, I mean, there are super important people in Dubai when you look at
Yeah,
Joseph Home from Draper Goren Home. You have Saeed Al Damaki, His Excellency Gabriel Abed,
yeah,
Alexei Hefti. Those are super
yeah.
heavyweights that
Future
are there.
finance.
CZ. So it's
Yeah,
becoming really, really interesting. Sandeep from Polygon, so there's heavyweights there right now. And there's a reason why they're there. And
yeah.
for me, it's super exciting.
Not sure. Yeah. Oh wait, no. First of all, I didn't know Sandeep from Polygon. He's here in Dubai. Like I thought he's still in India or something. But that's really actually really cool. Wow. Okay. Man,
Go ahead.
man. There's so many things I want to like ask you, but I know we're running out of
You
time.
can cut it
But
as you want later,
all right,
but
no
go
problem. No,
ahead
you
and
know
get
what?
the
Yeah, sure,
questions
sure.
out. That's
Okay.
all on the go.
Oh yeah, no, true. Okay, no, fair enough. Okay, I tell you what. I'm
Go ahead.
kind of interested to ask you about incubation. Of course, because we're talking about startups and stuff, and there are upcoming talent. A lot of them from India, many of them from Africa. They're coming to Dubai, and they're excited about some of the stuff what Ralph and you guys have built over here, and there's this sort of this blooming industry coming up. So definitely they need guidance. They definitely need some sort of incubation, acceleration. But would love to hear your thought leadership when it comes to incubation. And is it possible to see this incubation taking place here in Dubai?
Incubation in
And
itself is a really,
I know it's a
really
very
tough thing
broad
to crack.
kind of question, but
It's not a problem to find a place, like, I don't know, a couple of hundred square meters where you can do the incubator in itself. And you give parameters to the incubator when you say, like two people from the project can be on site and the rest of them can be off site, and then they communicate and they go through the program. For me, incubation programs in general need to be incredibly tough and bootcamp like, because I want to stress in the time that I have with those people, or
okay.
back in time, I wanted to stress the people to the maximum to see how they would react when they hit like this boiling point, which you will always hit as an entrepreneur. There's no way around that. That at some point of time, something is not going to go wrong, and then you need to be able to react. And for us, it was always very important to see how do those people react and what kind of decisions do those people take under pressure. So really long product days, not that much sleep, a lot of tasks, a lot of preparation. So you get into the stressful situation. Other people do different things, but we wanted to create an environment where you would understand and where you would be able to experience what it would feel like to actually be in the real world and to actually have deadlines and to actually have to deliver something because there's people that are hanging on your back and they have expectations. So I don't think it's an issue to build an incubation or acceleration program. And I know that there's tons of them in Dubai by now. It's about who from the team do you bring there? How do they communicate with the rest of the team? And what happens afterwards? Do they get $1 million so they can set up and then they can be here? Do they get 50 grand so they go back home? And it's really to what happens afterwards. Are they going to have, I don't know, paid accommodation, for example, in a place to work? Very similar to student housing, kind of, if you imagine it, where they can just go and hustle. Is it going to be something else? What's the result from the acceleration program? Once you figure that out, then I don't think it's an issue to create anywhere in the UAE or in the Middle East, actually, an incubation acceleration program.
Okay, no, interesting. Okay, that's no. Thank you for your thoughts on that. I'm just curious about about incubation because because I keep hearing you hear about Y Combinator and I had some of these incubation clubs in my mind, but Y Combinator is the only thing I think of. I know Dubai, of course. You got your Crypto Oasis. They got their accelerator kind of deal, and I know you did your own thing too. So because I'm kind of curious to see, I'm sure there's going to be more coming up here in Dubai, and that there's this emphasis to grow the talent over here too. So I was kind of thinking in that line. So
with the accommodational aspect, with the living expenses aspect, those are things that a lot of people do not think enough about. And your burn rate is your lifeline.
Yeah, that's funny. Wow. Yeah. Actually, that kind of put a little fear in me. When you said that. Damn. But no. Thank you for sharing that. So, but anyways, you know what? We're running all the time. I know you got family, you got some other exciting stuff. But you know what? Before we end, is there anything exciting you're looking forward for this year, for 2022?
Me, finally,
with regards to the crypto industry.
So come back to Dubai. No, jokes aside. I'm looking forward to see how the next couple of months in the market develop, to see what gets funded and to see what people come out with when it comes to ideas from this market. I'm looking forward to finally see the first retail banking implementations. I very, very much would like to see that because I think that obviously Brock has said this ages ago, if you can't touch 1 billion lives with blockchain, why are you doing it in the first place? So, how can we bank more people? How can more people get access to this infrastructure? But I'm also very much looking forward to cleaning up, to see how this cleanup in the space is going to happen so that bad actors in the space get less and that more good people can actually build. And most importantly, just looking forward to be healthy, happy, and to be able to continue working with the people that I work with to create magic.
Right. Nice. Hey, well said. So well said. I love that, man. Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. For the next couple of months, especially here in Dubai. Though, I mean, it's not just the event stuff, but being in this, being with XT, we get to connect a lot of different projects. There's some interesting projects coming in, but also I'm also looking forward to see some interesting new protocols coming in. They're all coming up some pretty, interesting themes, interesting ideas, and I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen. So I just personally believe that, it's a good thing this bear market, is happening. And I think the stronger ones will come up, and there are some folks, kind of like Brock Pierce and stuff, who are looking for ways. They are generally trying to see like how they can actually touch lives. I mean,
agree.
you can do great stuff and be prosperous too.
For us,
so
my partners and I, we like a hands-on approach. We like to work with our teams, and it's just also it is incredibly rewarding at the end of the day. So again, happy, healthy, successful, all the good stuff is there. So,
awesome, man. Yeah, man. No, I love that. I want the audience here at xt.com, to understand this stuff, and some of the projects too. I think it's great to build, and you're trying to hit your financial targets and all that stuff. But there's the bigger picture too, right? Like your life.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still learning.
You. I think that's something worth fighting for.
And I have to force myself to
I
appreciate it more because, unfortunately, somehow with time days get shorter. Even though the 24 hours still are 24 hours, but it's just how we perceive time.
Yeah.
And making the best possible way on how to utilize this, in my opinion, is an incredibly important thing. And I can only wish that whoever listens to this hear exactly this, like make the most out of your time.
Mm-hmm.
Money comes and goes, but there's no coming back. That was a little bit heavy, but it's true.
Yeah, true. Those are some wise words, my friend. Hey, those are wise words. Hey, man. Hey, who knows? I do hope that people do take this message to the heart, and because see, for me, I was working in the traditional financial space, more like biz dev, sales kind of stuff. I mean, it wasn't that inspiring, but in the crypto and blockchain space, I have met all kinds of people, but I also met some people who are generally building some amazing stuff, and I think the blockchain space has.
That's why we're here.
Massive potential to really change things and make the world better. So I think that part I'm so grateful that in this space I could talk to some amazing people and also witness too, like, wow, this thing, I'm part of this, and I'm excited. That's something that keeps me excited, keeps me motivated, and looking forward to.
Inshallah.
There's some amazing people who can do some great stuff. So I'm grateful for that. So a lot to be grateful, my friend. Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Anyways, look, fam, xt.com. We gotta go. Nikola, he has other stuff to do. But anyways, we gotta go. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. And if you want to reach out to Nikola,
you can reach me on.
I mean, it's up to him if he wants to be reached out or Telegram. He wants to be left alone. I will share the LinkedIn.
Sorry.
All right, I'll put that. I'll put his LinkedIn profile. So you can friend him, follow him, and ask him for lots of money or
thanks
advice.
very much. Have a good one.
Or one of those things. I'll leave it up to Nikola. So.